Thank you so much for watching another one of my interviews here on my show, William Wallace for America. You're going to hear some noise in the background on this video. I'm going to give it to you first, which is, in my opinion, the sound of your tax dollars going down the drain. And behind me is going to look like a great big old mess. But this interview is not going to go in the direction that you might think it is, because with me is Charles Marsala. Charles, thank you for coming on today. I appreciate it. And he has some positive ideas on how to turn this mess back into what it used to be used as, or what it is dedicated to be used as. And I'm going to let him explain that. And we're going to talk about how he's using his new moment, or his new message, if you will, to be able to positively get people involved in cleaning this up. Charles, thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Bill, thank you for coming out. And like you said, this has been going on since I've been out here, this water running. You can only imagine, this is clean water. How many gallons a second are going down the drain and back out into the lake from a busted pipe? And I also think
it's right up over here, right?
Right over here.
There's actually a waterfall over there.
It is. It's amazing looking at how fast it's coming out. But I think it's actually probably a safety hazard. It looks like it's coming from a busted line to a fire hydrant. So if that's the case, we have low water pressure out here, and maybe it's because this thing won't be fixed, and no one has paid attention or responded to our calls. So thank you for coming out to draw attention to this free-flowing water.
But I think this is going to lead in a direction I think is a positive for everybody. And I want to point out that, that water line, we don't know where it is because we're actually standing on the parish line. I think you're in Jefferson Parish and I'm in Orleans Parish, but together we're going to show how this area can be used in a better way.
And Bill, what I have here, and hopefully this makes sense for people, is I have a website, retiefpark.org. Because right next to us used to be called Mickey Retief Play Spot. He was a great philanthropist, a great baseball player in Tulane and coach, did a lot of great things. So that was called Mickey Retief Play Spot. So I refer to this as Retief Park now, because these few acres, it's a great way to talk about just these 4 acres here. So retiefpark.org is our website. You can see this goes back to about 1912, all right? This is a map of what it looked like, and actually down here at the other side,
hand it to me as you
okay, down here at the other side is the boundary line that you were talking about. I'll point it right here on your right side. You can see a dotted line. The last 100 feet or so from the water going inland, going east, is Jefferson Parish. And if you look behind us, you'll see there's a seawall, there's oak trees, there's a road, and it's been since Katrina, and it'd be great to get this cleaned up.
And back behind there is all the pilings where the restaurants used to be on the water, on the lake, but now are being used by pelicans.
Absolutely. It's a beautiful sight.
Not the New Orleans pelicans, but the lakefront pelicans.
It'd be great to have the New Orleans Pelicans come out, Bill. I'd like to see them. That would get our attention. Maybe we need to do that. Yes. So this picture here, and I'll show it here quickly, and then I'll hand it over to you. But you can see the park has green space throughout it, because the Act 209 of 1906, the lease of the state to the city of New Orleans, said you could only use it as a public park or as an amusement park.
So this is in state law that can only be used as a public park.
Yes. Now, around it, though, were the restaurants. And this is where there's a lot of rumors and a lot of misinformation. A lot of people want to think where we're standing now had restaurants. But it's clear when you're here, this was always a parking lot.
This was a parking lot, and the restaurants were on the water,
yes,
accessed through the parking lot.
Yes, or not. And before there was a parking lot here, it was a terrace. It was a rose garden. But there was a road, and you could park alongside the restaurants on the road to get to them. And then the parking lot of the park eventually evolved into the parking lot for the restaurants. Now, on the other side, where the pumping station is, that used to be Bruning's, Federico's, Papa Rosselli's. So there were restaurants that were in Orleans, but they were outside the park. And that's where people get confused. They think those restaurants were actually inside the park, but they weren't. And that's one of the things we got to get clear so we can move forward, is that there were never restaurants in the park. It's the lease says you can't.
So what you're trying to do is you're trying to return this back to what is already in state law, and make this be used as return it to being a park, have it cleaned up, motivate elected officials and community leaders into getting this area cleaned up, return it as a park, and be able to use it as such.
And likewise, there's some residents that may say, gosh, putting pressure on elected officials saying, oh, wow, we missed those restaurants. We miss all those restaurants that were there. But legally, they can't go in. So we now have had 17 years go by since 2005 of this position that's, I'll let this plane pass here. Okay. But we've had 17 years go by with nothing being done where people can't enjoy the park because they think that they could put restaurants in it. And now with the Corps of Engineers, you cannot put restaurants on the water. The other thing is restaurants have to be 17 feet in the air, which means to build it, the cost to build it would make a hamburger $35.
So it probably costs a lot less just to return it to a park and maintain it as such.
Yes. And not only that, but what was great maybe that we had this time is that in April, Senator Bill Cassidy had a conference down at the Lake Pontchartrain Conservatory right at Causeway saying that there's $50 million from the infrastructure bill of 2021 that's available for environmental projects on Lake Pontchartrain. So it's $10 million a year for 5 years. We've almost lost a full year while we still are deciding what to do. So it'd be great that we would move forward. And each year there's up to $10 million that's available if you want to do a coastal project.
Is this on your website?
Yes, it is. Everything's on my website. Act 209. The other thing, last year in May, the politicians signed a cooperative endeavor agreement, a CEA. That's on there, and that calls for housing and retail. But when they did that, nothing in there that said it had to abide by state law. So I asked the governor's office if that means you got to leave it as a park, and he goes, yes. So now they're looking at having to go back and try to fix that state law or undo the CEA.
So there's an effort to redo zoning on this area that's legally a park. There's an effort to rezone this for other uses other than a park.
There is an effort right now. But there's got two state laws they got to get over. There's the city ordinances of New Orleans. The master plan calls for retaining open space and even adding to it, especially if it's on the lake or on the river. So to get all of those laws changed is delaying taking action because as the politicians try to get the votes and write the laws and try to figure out what they can and can't do, then days can turn into months, turn into years.
Because we've talked a little bit, I want to interject for a second. I know that the state is not going to renew some of the leases for the boathouses on one section over here. It would seem to me that if this area right here was a park, and it's under state law that's a park, if you move the restaurants or whatever businesses over there to where they're going to remove the leases from the boathouses, you could take those boathouses and make that into businesses, and then you don't have to build anything, and this can stay a park.
Yes, in fact, Bill, right now, if we look down from where we are, you look straight across, you'll see two buildings that were businesses that have been empty for 2 years. So if the state wants to or the cities want to have buildings out here, they have a row right there that's already zoned commercial. It's outside the park, right across the street from it. It makes sense to try to...
And they're still by the water. And if this is to a park, people can walk from over there and enjoy the park before, after a meal.
Right. And the other thing becomes, which is my next slide here, you can see this is our little area here. It's only 1.8 acres. That's if you save the heritage oak trees. There's 25 heritage oak trees surrounding where we are. Here's the pumping station, and on the other side is Jefferson Parish.
Let me show my camera that.
Okay, so here you go. And the beautiful thing is, why not extend? It's a bird sanctuary around Causeway Bridge. Why not extend that bird sanctuary all the way through here and all the way to the airport? We have a great bird sanctuary. When you see the pelicans that are out here and the seagulls, the egrets, and maybe even eagles. We have seen eagles out here as well. So wouldn't it be great to have kids not have to drive to Grand Isle to see a pelican?
Let's see the rest of this.
All right. This is, again, they've actually changed the building height out here now, separate, because that's one of the steps you have to do, to be allowing a 4-story building to be out here. and that's what this could look like. So I did a sketch of what a 4-story building would look like. It would actually be taller than this. This is 4 stories without the 17 feet underneath clearance on it.
So what you're about to show here is that this is a picture of their proposed, if they rezone this into making it more of a where buildings can be built,
Yes.
then this is what people would end up with out here if the park rule is overridden.
Now, and to be clear, yes, it is. That is a picture I took of a project, a government project out in New Orleans. So here we're on government land. This would still be a government project. That is not a conceptual from any artist or out to bid. That is a photo of an actual government facility that was built recently in New Orleans. I've been proposing that we ought to plant trees. These are cypress trees. This is a photo actually I took on Canal Boulevard, and they're planting trees yesterday on Canal Boulevard. Cypress trees. The ball cypress is a great tree. It breaks the wind, so when a storm comes through here, if you have trees here, it would provide protection for the residents in the buildings that are there. Also a place for the birds. I mean, like I said, we have thousands of nesting birds around here and looking to places to sleep.
So you can take this area, which we can see behind me is just in shambles.
Yeah.
It hasn't been taken care of. I would say it's a quagmire. It's in a big mess. We got broken pipes. You've got waste over here. To take this, add trees, add beautification back to it, make it back into a park, and develop this area that's on the water over there on the other side by the boat harbor and make that the retail area.
And in fact, again, this is 1.3 acres that it's in Jefferson Parish, and I want to compare this to what they did on Metairie Road at Bayou Metairie Park. They did a great job there making that a beautiful place. So they could take exactly what they did on Bayou Metairie Park, put this in their park system, and use it as an educational deal. Plus, I've already talked to some of the nonprofits, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, and other nonprofits. There's a thing called the Open Trust Alliance, and they have money available because they want to teach people about open space.
What I like that you're bringing up the good examples of what's going on right here on the 40 acres across this bayou right here that Jennifer Van Franken has done, and beautified that park over there and the park that's on Metairie Road. And the same model that's been done over there can be done here as a place to be able to capture some of that federal money and beautify this area. And then those businesses can go on over there where the buildings already are.
And I like to say it maybe this way. There's a phrase, not in my backyard and not in my neighborhood. We want in my backyard. We want in my neighborhood what they're doing over there. So what they're doing over there, we want.
You like what they're doing over there. You want some of that over here. I like that. That's a great way to put it.
Backyard, please.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's see this next picture.
This is mine. I started out politically as a wildlife photographer, and then I got on our town's art committee out in California, and then I was on the Park and Rec Commission. This is one of my photographs, but every night you can see when the pelicans are out here, 3 or 4 photographers doing great photography of the pelicans. And again, that was an endangered species. It's the Louisiana state bird. So to let people be out here and see them and just flying in, it's an amazing thing to see a pelican come in for a landing. And I'd really encourage anybody, typically your best months are August, September, and October for the pelicans in November. But September, October, just wonderful as they leave their nesting. They want a place where they're safe because we got wild cats running around out here. But pilings provide them a place that's safe, that they know no mammals are going to get to them. So it's an amazing thing having those pilings.
It's unbelievable here that this is a great little area, and I love the fact that you are, trying to do this in a positive, professional way to get not only more people in the community involved, but the elected officials involved who you think can do a fantastic job with some good examples that they have just on the other side of the canal to make this area not only beautiful, but a place where people can go and enjoy the lake in another way.
Absolutely. I mean, we've seen that effort, and hats off that we have this money and that people have learned how to obtain it for keeping open parks on the water, and that New Orleans put in their master plan to keep open space on the water.
Charles, any final thoughts? And the website again, please.
Yeah. RetiefPark.org, and you'll see there's about 10 different links on there. It'll take you into the nitty-gritty of this. We've got videos of council meetings, of interviews and other things, and your interview will be there as well. So thank you for bringing attention to this bill.
Appreciate you, Charles. Thank you very much. And everybody else, please share the video, share the interview. Of course, you can find this on my platform, William Wallis for America, and also on Charles's, as he just now said. Thank you so much, and have a great day.
Thank you, Bill.